Being too comfortable may not be in your best interest. Why is that? Because learning does not take place in the comfort zone. This is drspencercoaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about the learning zone and the comfort zone and the growth mindset. Because in any walk of life, especially in business, especially if you're a healthcare practitioner and you open your own practice, you know your healthcare methods the best. But do you know business? And there is a mentality of, especially with doctors, believe me, I am one, we are Mr. and Mrs. Know-it-alls. You know, in the world of chiropractic, and I don't know if this exists in other worlds, I know it exists in the medical world, doctors don't tend not to like each other. Doctors tend not to hang out and talk to each other because they're constantly butting heads. We get so opinionated, our professional opinion. I know I'm a doctor. Don't tell me. And then we want to argue all the time. I'm right, you're wrong. I know, you don't. And we don't learn anything like that. Because it's to listen to somebody speak, to really listen, can be uncomfortable. To hear another person's opinion may be uncomfortable. Now, I think psychologists are the best listeners. You go to a psychologist, they will just listen, and acknowledge everything you're saying. Now, where am I going with this? How does this relate to learning in your comfort zone? It's because if you think you know everything already, you're not going to explore anything new. In other words, you're a doctor, you're an acupuncturist, you've got years of schooling, you've got your certifications, your board exams, your national board exams, your jurisprudence exams done. You're a very smart person, only you've got blind spots. Do you know marketing? Do you know bookkeeping? Do you know patient management? Do you know how to create a patient flow so you can see more patients and not get backed up? How do you deal with follow-ups? How do you deal with a patient who is pissed at you because you didn't get the results, even though you did everything you can? See, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to learning. These are uncomfortable situations. Now, a lot of this you'll just learn in time. Yes, that is a given. But how can you accelerate that learning to scale your practice so you can grow faster, so you can make more money, have more fun, and have more time to spend with the people who matter? I had my practice in an office building. I watched an acupuncturist. Within months, she was renting out other offices, hiring other acupuncturists, real business savvy. Always had a positive attitude, always greeting everybody, greeted me in the hallway. It hit me, this woman is not only a great acupuncturist, she's a great businesswoman. You see, when you're a healer, doctor, clinician, you may think, I don't need to learn this stuff. It may be uncomfortable because you just don't want to admit you don't know. Let's just face it. Let's be honest. You can't know everything, especially in business. I know I didn't know everything about business. I thought I did. I worked for a high-level business coach. He taught me about marketing. He taught me about patient management. He taught me about communication, how to talk to the patients, how to close a report of finding, how to give a review of exam findings. So they want to get your care. I thought I knew it all. I even worked as a receptionist at a very successful acupuncture clinic. But there was so much that I didn't know, that I learned on the fly. And I had a coach. He taught me other things that I didn't know, especially in marketing. I had to learn how to manage an office, how to manage employees. I learned the hard way. You see, talking to employees, I was I was the head honcho. I had the attitude of I own the practice, I'm the boss, I'm the king, you're going to do as I say. And I learned within a few months that managing an office like that, managing a practice, doesn't go over well with employees. I learned to create a sense of teamwork, a sense of equality. I would take my employees out for dinner once a month. I'd have a Monday morning powwow to enroll them in my vision, to help patients get healthy naturally without drugs and medicine. And it's something I had to remind them of the mission of the business, so we're all on board and then synchronize and resonate that frequency of service in a specific way, getting patients healthy without drugs and medicine, so we attract people who want it. These are things that I had to learn. How to network with a gym. I became the chiropractor of the UFC gym. Talking to the manager, talking to the personal trainers, introducing myself. I never networked to that degree. Going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings. I was terrible at connecting with strangers and other business owners to team up as a partnership. And I realized that I was making it all about me, making it all about my success, my ambition, what I can do, not about them. What are they going to get out of it? What's in their best interest? You see, everything is a learning curve. And if you're not willing to step out of your comfort zone, you never learn any of these things. You never learn anything. You just stay comfortable. You know, a lot of chiropractors, massage therapists especially, I hired a lot, they refuse to network. They were shy. Acupuncturists I know are very shy people. They're very caring, very loving, but they're shy. They don't know how to network, so they don't know how to expand and create a sense of teamwork with other businesses, so they get referrals. And for me, I'm not Mr. Extroverted either. I'm actually an introvert, but I learned to talk to people. I learned how to introduce myself in a way that was inviting, that didn't put people at guard, because it was about my intentionality. Now, these are things I learned along the way that I'm sharing with you, so you can take it with a grain of salt. My point is you can either learn the hard way, like I did, or have someone show you the ropes, show you the ins and outs, or show you the do's and don'ts. And if you're willing to learn, your practice, your career is going to accelerate. You have an overhead, you have student loans. If you don't learn how to enroll, how to sell, how to close, how to market, you're not going to bring in cash flow to your business because you're in your comfort zone. You're technical with your needles, with your hands, with your prescriptions, with your herbs, whatever it is that you know how to help people, that's what you're good at. But step outside of that zone. Networking, connecting, building community. How do you do that? There's other aspects, just like in a relationship. When you first start dating, you go through the eros stage, the ooh, the ah. Oh, I love this person, they're the one, everything's great. And then sooner or later you find out all the icky things about them, the things you don't like, the things that make them human, the things that make you just a regular, ordinary human being, and you love them regardless, or maybe you don't. But you learn how to be forgiving. You learn how to be understanding. You learn how to meet people halfway. You learn how to listen. You learn how to notice things. And the more you learn, the more knowledge you gain, the more wisdom you have, and the better decision you make the next time you go around. Learning anything is uncomfortable because there's an unknown to life. There's just something unknown. I remember when I learned how to rail slide on a skateboard when I was 12 or 13 years old. I had a railroad tie and I waxed it up, went sideways on it, and wiped out. My board went flying forward, my feet went in the air, I was horizontal with the ground, and the first thing that hit was my tailbone on the corner of the railroad tie. I hadn't felt pain like that ever in my life up to that point. And I thought, I'm never going to hit this thing again. I said, no, I got to learn how to do this. I'm determined. That made me, I'm just the type of person that says, you know, you want to knock me down, I want to get back up and prove you wrong. So I got back on that skateboard and I was determined to prove to myself that I can do it. And I figured out in my head, I got to lean forward. If I slid backwards, then I got to lean forward more. So I leaned forward more, and then I stumbled forward and I caught myself and I had to run forward. And I realized I leaned too far forward. So I got to lean slightly less forward. But I don't want to lean too far back because I'm going to fall on my tailbone and it's going to hurt like hell. There's a learning process. There's a figuring out. There's a sorting out. In any aspect of life, that is true. Whether it's business, relationship, or learning a skill. It's uncomfortable. You get comfortable being uncomfortable. You get used to the anxiety, the angst, and you learn to focus your mind regardless. Now, if there's too much anxiety, there's too much fear, you get frozen. There's a panic, you can't think straight. You go too far out of your comfort zone and you don't learn anything, you never want to experience that again. So what is this learning zone? How do you accelerate your life so you succeed? So you fast track your success? So you can take months or years of learning or years of perseverance and tune it down to a few months. You fast track your career, fast track your relationship, fast track your business. Is learning. The faster you learn, the faster you figure things out, the do's and don'ts, the more you can apply what works and let go of what doesn't work. And in that discovery of what works, you'll find out more things you don't know. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I've learned as a doctor is the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know, how much there is to learn in the world. And instead of being intimidated, for me, that makes me even more curious. It gives me more passion to learn, to find things out. And it gives room for learning. Because if I stayed in the Mr. Know-It-All mentality, and believe me, I have done that much of my life, talked to my friends and family, I wouldn't have learned anything. I wouldn't have been curious enough to want to know, to want to learn. And it takes curiosity. It takes that wanting to know to begin to learn. I wonder what it would be like if. Well, what's that about? What if I can? What would life be like if I could? How can I improve my circumstance? And when you begin to ask those types of questions, rather than dwelling on what went wrong and ruminating on all the mistakes you've made, or how people double-crossed you or stabbed you in the back, you focus on what works. You focus on what's going to accelerate your life, what's going to progress your circumstance. And that's how you fast-track your business. What don't you know? How can you learn? What is there to learn? Because you have a mission to fulfill. You have people who need your help, who need to hear you, who need to get under your care. And if you don't get out there and network, if you don't know how to market and connect, if you don't know how to organize your workflow, you're going to be stuck in doing things that may only take 15 minutes, you'll be taking an hour to do them. You know, it's like getting lost when you're driving versus knowing your way around. It's that different. Before you find that way, you sort of get lost, and then you discover. Because learning is always a discovery process, and that's what makes it fun. In fact, learning is more effective, or let me put it this way, you'll learn more in a fun environment than you do in a serious environment. And school is very serious, and we don't learn that way. That's why there's so many kids who just hate school. When you have a fun time, when you're filled with joy and curiosity and excitement, we absorb more information. The brain takes on more. It's aware of more and is receptive to more. When you're in a state of gratitude, joy, and excitement, you're in a state of receptivity. and you take on more. If you're angry, irritated, and stressed, you tend to block things out and you don't learn anything. You only hear what you want to hear, see what you want to see. That which serves you to protect you or give you a sense of ease and feel safe when there is no danger. I mean, that's the thing with stress. It can narrow your vision. You can create what's called a cognitive bias and only see things one way and only look at evidence or information that supports that viewpoint, and you negate everything else. You know, those narrow-minded people who don't want to listen, don't want to hear, don't want to know anything, don't want to explore, don't want to change. That's what it is, and they justify, because that's what cognitive bias is. You just justify a behavior, a pattern, a habit that doesn't really serve you. To form new habits is really the key here, and that's for a whole nother video. I will say you should read Atomic Habits. It's a great book. It explains all about how to unlearn bad habits and how to learn good habits, how to develop good habits, and the actual detailed process of that. That's part of learning. And to incorporate something new into your life is to incorporate a series of action steps. That's different, and it's not different after you get used to it. It becomes familiar. You see, we human beings just have a knack for only wanting to be around the familiar. You know, think of the battered wife who people look at her like, why are you still with that man? He beats you, you know, and they don't leave because it's familiar. And familiarity is comfortable. To get uncomfortable is to become unfamiliar. And that could be scary, that you feel lost, just feel bewildered. You approach it with a degree of focusedness. When you could focus on one thing, when you approach something new, you're going to notice something within the unfamiliar that is relatable. And then once you relate to that one thing, you're going to find other things that are relatable that distinguishes it from the unrelatable. And then you're going to actually realize that it's the relatable just in another form. It's like, I've moved around in many parts of this country, and I realize people are people. They may have different customs, but people are people. People like things, they don't like things. They're going to stay in their comfort zone. We demand to feel comfortable. It's a basic human need. We demand significance. I see this in every culture. We demand to be heard. Admiration, the desire to be admired, is the strongest desire in the human mind. This need to be loved, the need to belong. There are universal needs that all human beings play out, and this is what I notice. They may express it differently, they may fulfill it differently, but it's still the same basic need. And I realize people are people. You just talk to a person like a human being instead of an object to get something from. Because so many relationships are transactional now, and people sense that when you talk to them. You just want something from me, and that tends to make people put their guard up. I can tell you just want something from me. What do you want? You don't get anywhere with them. You talk to people like a person, like we are the same. Hey, don't you like bacon and eggs? Who doesn't love bacon and eggs? But do you like your eggs sunny side up, or you like them scrambled? Or, well, let's go get some breakfast. There's familiarities that make us all the same in life. Because when you're dealing with patients, when you're dealing with customers, there's all types of people. When you want to network, when you're shy, in other words, and you want to delegate and build a network of trading services, of getting referrals, this uncomfortableness with people is really going to get in your way. And when you learn to familiarize yourself with different people, there's always going to be a degree of uncertainty, but that's what makes it exciting. If everybody was exactly the same and predictable, well, life would be pretty boring. Relationships would be boring. You need a degree of uncertainty to spice things up, to be a surprise. you get comfortable with that surprise. You get comfortable being uncomfortable. And like I said, you don't go too far into that uncomfortableness where you experience such anxiety and fear, you freeze. Or you get really aggressive because you want to fight. But you get comfortable with that feeling of uncertainty. That sense of, I don't know everything. Let me figure things out. You open your ears and eyes. And you look for that which is familiar, that which is relatable. And you'll begin to put two and two together and make the unfamiliar familiar and become comfortable in the uncomfortable. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. And I am going to leave my link below this video in the description. So if you would like a consultation, just click on that link and I can help you. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.